All right, let's see. I want to make sure. Want to make sure that we can see okay. All right, perfect. So I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see me there we go, without blocking your view. So this is what I'm going to be working on. Um, this is a blue line by Fernando Ruiz. And so what a blue line is when they have the actual drawing scanned and they scan it into the computer and then you can print it out. So you can scale it and you can print it on better paper. I took this original scan and then I went and printed it out on cardboard stock paper to have a little bit more bite to it and to hold the ink. Now, it's not Stratmore or vellum or anything like that. It's just regular stock paper, but it's what I could get right now because I don't have my own printer, so I go down to Kinko's. But it's good to practice on. So when you do this, um, the best thing to do is you if you're going to ink, you got to pick a spot and then go through and start building it up from there. Now, again, I've said this before, and I'm very appreciative of Mr. Fernando Ruiz, who is an instructor at the Cupid School. Um, his pencils are very tight, and what I mean by that is that as you can see, all the detail is there, the shading. He wants you to know what he wants to say with his picture, with his art. And then as an inker, the job of the inker is to not just trace, but to add depth and to give it a sense of realness, depending on what your project is. So, like this is a little bit more realistic than what he normally draws. Normally, he does more like an Archie kind of cartoon type, and I like this because this is very realistic. He's very talented and very versatile. And one of the things I'm learning as a beginning inker, and I want you to understand, I'm an amateur when it comes to inking and things like that. And I'm trying to learn. I want to get into the business. I want to be able to sell my artwork. So if you guys are interested, please contact me. If you're interested in any kind of work that I do, or if you're wanting me to do a custom design, and I'll let you know. I've got very reasonable rates um, for now. Hopefully, I'll be big enough like Jim Lee, who does that $20,000 a commission. But he's the head of DC, and he's very talented and he's very busy. So, I mean, again, time is money. So, if you're interested in supporting, please buy my artwork. If you're a millionaire and you want to give me some money, contact me to my IM and I'll let you know. As long as there's no princes from other countries that I have to send my account to. That's a joke, by the way. So, when I look at this, it's not only for me to be able to tell depth and to give a sense of where the figure is in space inside the drawing. But as you can tell, you have the character here. It's a Dungeons and Dragons character. Then you have the brick behind for the building or concrete. And you have a demon, and it looks like it might be a shadow demon. I'm not sure. I'm looking for there's a shadow demon. So um possibly. So it gives you a sense of each thing, the shield, the fur, all of that has its own texture. And it's tough to display that. And I want to try and see. what I can do. So one of the things I learned from Walden Wong is he takes his takes and he inks out all the lines out first. Anything that's going to be ruled, he takes out. Now there's a little chip there, so I'm going to denote that chip so I can save that. Again, there's no right or wrong as far as I'm concerned. I'm learning, so if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. And don't be jerks and sit there and say you suck and all that stuff. I already know that. If I need that, I can tell that to myself. But if you have some constructive criticism, by all means, I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn and have fun. In fact, last night I got stuck at work doing a 16-hour shift from 7 in the morning until noon today. So this stream almost didn't happen because I was going to sleep before I go back to work at 7. But I promise, and I am a man of my word. Now, here's where I'm getting into some trouble. Huh. So let's see. Oops. I think it was Aaron Myers who asked me what kind of setup I had. And I'm just using my iPhone and I have it on a tripod. I do have, and I'll show you that in just a minute here. Armature. That's what I was using before, but this thing here was falling. It wasn't even holding the camera for very long. So I decided to put it on the one that I have for my 35 millimeter, and it held pretty well. I do have to invest, and that's one of the things. Um, I have been trying to save up some. I want to pay some bills so that my wife and I don't have to work 3 or 4 jobs like we have been. Um, so I want to pay off some bills and be able to give me some more time for my art. And I want to also get some equipment. I want to upgrade my equipment. I've always loved comics growing up. My father actually introduced me to comic books as a way to get me to read more, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. I think um, my first comic book was the DC Digest, which I heard that they are putting in a new release of the like digest size or forms of the books now, which I'm interested in checking out. I think I heard something on the radio this week. I think it was on Johnny's House, Brian Grimes. They were talking about radio, and he said, for years, people have said that radio is dying. That once MTV came about, that radio's dying. That once streaming came about and satellite radio was dying. And he came up with a nice observation that says very similar with the comic book world is that the the mode that they transmit the music and the and the stories is going to change the route that they change. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but the people are still going to want to hear the stories. People are going to still want to listen to music, but how they get to it, whether it's CDs, albums, vinyl, cassettes, all that, that method, the way the message is delivered, it's going to change. And I feel the same thing with comic books. People still want to have that level of entertainment, that level of immersion, whether it's books, comic books, movies, things like that. There's different methods of getting it. And what I love about comics and books is that they allow you to fill in the gaps of your with your imagination. Of course, books allow you to go all out and picture the whole scenario. As you know, different writers would be a little bit more descriptive, but your mind fills in the blank based on their description and what you are what you've been exposed to. Now, I'm jumping around a bit and I hope I'm not in the camera. Okay. Sorry. Checking in on myself and seeing myself in a time loop there. Trying not to get in the way there. Now this ruler is something I figured out from I learned about with I took the Cubert School's online um, courses where you can it's not the full curriculum, but it's where you sit down and you do a session like a summer session, fall session, things like that, and and you get the benefit of online instruction from one of the instructors, and you get projects and homework. You don't get a certificate or degree or anything, but knowledge itself is power. It gives you insight and helps you to build. Um, and that was very helpful. I really am appreciative of that. And that's one of the things I'm going to be trying to build up some fundage for so I can attend more classes. Right now, I'm just kind of, I want to, there you go. So you can see I'm kind of framing the picture of where those objects are. Excuse me. And you have these bricks back here that I'm going to do at a later date. So now, my next step, I'm going to frame the figure. I'm going to kind of place an outline so I know what I'm going to be doing. So I want to make sure this is the center of my picture. One of the inkers of Marvel, Mark McKenna, told me, he says, when you ink, you got to keep your arm straight. Really, you should be going from your elbow. I really shouldn't be doing that. I should be focused just on the outline. But I get so tempted on the details. And especially on something as detailed as this. Such a beautiful work of art. Don't be afraid to move the figure around. I learned that from Walden Wong. He really, he's another inker from Marlboro, and he's worked for DC as well. Um, he really flips that paper around as he does his work. I was always so focused on staying in one area. And one of the things, I'm still growing as an artist, and I know I'm not at what I would say the professional level or at a level where I could start getting work or paid work. I would like, um, if somebody's interested and they wanted to use me for backgrounds, I am available for use. Will work for comics, uh, experience and the like. I think there's something to be said for the old-fashioned method of apprenticeship. The only problem is I have a family I have to feed still, so that's why work takes up a lot of my time. And this is a Tombow inking pen. I'm sorry I can't see any of the comments. I will review them later and then answer them as I go. I'm also keeping an eye on the time because I got to get to work. So right now, I'm not paying too much attention to what's going to need depth or not. A little bit here where I went heavy, um, because I saw there's a lot of black in there, so I wasn't worried. But I'm trying not to think about the thickness that I'm going to need. So I'm trying to keep it as thin as possible as my shaky hand will allow. What I love about this one is very meditative. It allows you to kind of just think. But I'm just, as I'm going over the lines, I'm trying to get into the mind of the artist and I'm trying to think what they were thinking. What was it that they were trying to say? And have you feeling learning how they constructed some of this. And that is something that has helped me a lot. And, who's to say I'm not following the wrong path? But I guess by following and tracing and learning from them, it helps enhance my own art. And I'm always very conscious now when I talk with other artists. And as a fanboy, a lot of times you say, oh, that reminds me of, or reminiscent of a different artist. And every artist has their own way of expression. But when you get to a point, it's their art. It's their heart and soul. Stop that. I'm not that. I'm trying to. I shouldn't be going into the details. I just love some of this work here. keeping an eye on the time. I do promise. Now, this is fur, kind of like a barbarian shag fur kind of covering. And so, what I'm trying to do is not give it a solid line so that I don't mess it up later. But as you can see, there's downward, what I call dagger strokes. And I'm trying to add that fur feel to it so that I don't mess it up later. I learned dagger strokes from Corey in Wichita when I was doing airbrushing. So a lot of people will say that they're self-taught. No one's self-taught. I think we learn by looking and copying others. Um, so you're always learning from someone else, by what somebody else did, and from observation, from nature itself. And so I have been very fortunate to have a lot of mentors and people that have taken me, answered my questions, and put up with me so that I can learn something that I love to do. All right. I think I'm going to be able to finish outlining this figure for today, and then I'll have to get ready for work. So now this is a character developed for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and he was actually part of the toy release, um, initial toy release that they put out back in the 80s and 90s. Um, but he was also one of the few toys and characters that was featured in the Dungeons and Dragons Marvel cartoon show. I think that was developed by Sunbow. And I have his new figure that was released. I think it was by NECA. Okay, I think we're going to stop right there. So, as you can see, already, good, bad, or indifferent, it's already starting to take shape. So, I will finish this up on another stream. I'll let you know. But I wish you all a good night. Again, follow me on Theo Michael Talks, and if you're interested in my art, please send me excuse me, private message on Facebook or Instagram, and let me know what you're interested in. A lot of the stuff that you see me drawing is available for sale, and again, I got reasonable prices. Or if you want me to do a cover art or something like that for you, let me know. Have a good one.